You know what's actually scary? The fact that Lightsworn is almost near its tier 0 potential that was during fucking what? 2011 during the Valentine's Day regional, and the only deck that could really even compete anywhere near it was fucking Destiny Heroes, and that was only because Absolute Zero had got released at that point. The deck was one of the scariest decks that I'd ever seen be played in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! And it was only because, literally just Charge has to move to 3 and Honest has to move to 3. And that deck will have everything that it had at that point in its lifespan. Being able to drop Archlord Christia was definitely so stupid. Fucking, it was what, 3 Celestia, 3 Honest was our fairy count, and you would be able to just superficially get as many of those into the graveyard as possible, because literally Lumina Gareth turn 1 was your go-to play. And Twilight Storm was really big in that format, and it's definitely really cool to see that Konami's kind of revisited the Lightsworn archetype. I'm not really going to touch on the new Judgment Dragon and the new Twilight Sworn General. I don't like the General. I know what they were attempting to do with it, but it doesn't particularly seem like a good card to me. And then to top things off, the new Judgment Dragon, you have to have 4 banished to summon it, which can be a bit hard. I'm not going to be the first person to tell you that. But it seems that Konami has wanted to start revisiting some of the quote-unquote previous archetypes. And Lightsworn seems like it was the first of their stops going into Brains. Dark Worlds have gotten 1 or 2 support cards so far, which is pretty fucking cool. Poor little Raico's on the cover of that card as well. But what does this mean? Well, Lightsworn definitely could be making its return with the Vrains era, much like we were anticipating it to. The introduction of 2 new cards, no new Lightsworn named cards yet, unfortunately, which kind of sucks. I'm not going to be the first one to say that. Lightsworn has so much at its disposal already. They have Michael, they have Minerva, which is one of the best exceeds that they could have in terms of support for the deck. Lumina Gareth has always been one of the most insane things. Lila for back row removal. The inclusion of Honest, so fucking stupid. And then, to top things off, you already have access to Christia if you achieve the 4. And the deck definitely has the fucking speed to get to where it needs to be. So I think a lot of people have kind of forgotten that Lightsworn is just so close to its tier 0 potential that it once had in this game. And I just wanted to remind people that, all it takes is 2 cards, and we can experience one of the quote-unquote most powerful decks that this game has really had. Now, today in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh, stunting Lightsworn isn't really much of an issue. Barrier Stun has a phenomenal matchup, contrary to what anyone really says, though watching Lumina be normal summoned to Ram, Barrier Statue depending on the back row, or Lila switch mill 3, it's definitely got its little kinks to handle it. And if Lightsworn doesn't mill itself out, obviously Judgment Dragon. Don't forget Judgment Dragon has to mill 4, but the deck's OTK potential is very real. But the point of talking about this was to be like, hey, they're revisiting this. There could still be another fucking Lightsworn named card that we don't know about in the set. There's definitely the potential for a new Lightsworn named card. I don't know what the fuck they can give them at this point. They could definitely give them a discard this card instead of letting the monster be destroyed, which would be fucking scary. I would love to see something possibly along the lines of, another card that acts as a draw card to, I guess, essentially nullify what we have. We've already got Charge of the Light Brigade, and we've already got Solar fucking Recharge. Definitely 2 of the most insane fucking cards that the deck needed. And let's not top things off with, Wolf the Lightsworn bullshit. With the inclusion of Wolf the bullshit Lightsworn in, the little concoction. Now you could play the grass looks greener and play a 60 card variation of the deck. Unfortunately, Felis doesn't get to trigger, but your end goal with playing that grass looks tastier or greener. I don't fucking remember what the name of it is. You just dump all your Lightsworns and turn all your fucking wolves on. All of your Luminas will be on. All of your wolves will proc. If you're playing trash like Necro Gardener because you want to be cool and nostalgic, if you're playing Plague Spreader Zombie in the mix, then you'll have access to all of these things, and then you can do your Lightsworn mills after you do that grass looks greener to essentially get you to where you need to be. But this is all within the realm of what good support we get. And as I was saying before, it's pretty clear they're giving support. It's pretty clear that they want to focus on the Twilight Sworn aspect as well. Having Dark Armed in the mix. It was definitely just kind of a pile of boss monsters back in the day. Granted, I still kind of think Pure might be better depending on where they go with this. So, but what more do they need? They have access to everything at this point. And come the Vrains era, when things slow down in the first 3 months, I would definitely love to see Lightsworn come back. The deck has some of the prettiest bling of any deck out there. Super Luminas fucking look gorgeous, man. So, Lightsworn, what are we thinking, guys? Obviously, much like most people, they don't think the meta is going to slow down. I get why a lot of people are saying that, but my window right now is for the set 1 release to the set 2 release, that we're going to get really the chance to see a lot of the meta and make an essential return. Obviously, things like Necro Gardener aren't as spicy as they once were, but watching an old deck come back at its full potential to kind of give the meta a run for its money is definitely something that I would like to see, because we really don't get to see a lot of, if not any of the old decks at their former power level make any real, chance to come back in the meta. Things like Dragon Rollers, things like Teledad. Teledad was a really underwhelming deck for what it was compared to today's standards. It was something I heard from a couple of friends of mine that were playing Teledad over the weekend. It's kind of just, that's it. And Tier 0 Lightsworn for its time, I can kind of see that it's that way. A deck that could potentially just lose its normal summon and be stunned, much like Dryden does in today's era. We don't have priority, so when you summon Judgment Dragon, if your boss monster just gets blown away by something, unless you have a secondary copy of it or something like My Body as a shield to protect it, then the purpose of playing that engine has kind of been stunned. But that is all within the realm of things. So Lightsworn's getting support. The moral of the story, we're literally 2 cards away on the list for Lightsworn just being at its near maximum potential. A deck that could be good again, could not be. But obviously in this video, these are my opinions and my opinions only. What do you guys think about Lightsworn? Do you think in a potential era of good support being released, that they could be good? With the potential of a new boss monster that recurs banished cards, do you think it could be good? Having a deck that has 6 boss monsters be incredibly good. I literally forgot that they fucking have 3 Judgment Dragon and 3 of the other new Judgment Dragon. It's pretty fucking insane in terms of power creep. What new Lightsworn-based card do you think Lightsworns need outside of the Twilight General and the new Heavenly Dragon, blah, 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 blah? All it takes is 1 or 2 cards, and this is literally all we need. And we get to have Tier 0 Lightsworn returned to us. So beautiful. Oh my god. Fucking, why can't we have nice things in Yu-Gi-Oh? Why do we always have to lose something on the list? I'm looking forward to the Vrains era, but I definitely think a lot of things are going to be rotating on and off of the list because of some potential hits and things like that. So I definitely got my fingers crossed that I get to play Lightsworn one more time. I mean, we can already play it with fucking 60 cards in lawn mowing, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the idea in and of itself is going to be good. But alright guys, leave a comment down below, tell me what you guys think, and do Serenos. That's not all, folks. Please subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Please check out my Cardfight Vanguard channel, VanCole40. You guys will get an insight on our playtesting sessions. And please check out the Zodiac Duelist TV Twitch stream. That way you guys can follow the House of Champions and MCole40 interactions. Please check out MCole Games for all of your guys' trading card game needs. And if you guys enjoyed this content, please check out my Patreon in the description. Every bit helps to the creation of these videos. One step at a time in improvement, and that's the goal of this channel. Alright guys, have a good time, and thanks for watching.